Okay, this is our project we're going to be doing. It's an easel for our cell phones. I am going to make one small adjustment with this next one. See how this gap is bigger here than here? I'm going to increase this gap so it will lay down better. Use duct tape. I used the blue one last time. This time I'm going to use some black. I used Velcro, and I believe about a 3-inch piece of Velcro is what we need. This Velcro does have the sticky on it. If I had noticed, I would have bought, I used a 6-inch stitch, what I think is a little bit too much. If I had noticed, I would have bought the Velcro without the sticky and used this Fabri-Tac glue, because I think this would actually hold it a lot better than the sticky that they have on our Velcro here that you buy at like at Walmart. It's a 3/4 inch Velcro. Okay. I'm going to cut 2 pieces of Velcro about 3 inches long, and that will do the top flap, or what I'm going to call the easel flap, and the front flap. Okay, now as far as chipboard, I got a medium weight chipboard here, and it needed, I used 1 full length piece, which is 8.5 by 11, like a piece of cardstock, plus one other small piece, which was 6.5 by 1 3/4. And okay, let me go back. And so anyway, this took a full sheet of cardstock, and this is a little bit extra. Okay, I did use a whole full sheet of designer series paper. And I will also cut cardstock to use on the inside of this. And I think I will use probably, since this is going to be using a lot of, like on your table and stuff like that and get dirty, instead of that Whisper White, which is a Stampin' Up! Product, I'll probably use like the Night of Navy. Although that probably won't look too good with black. Let me see what I think will look good with black. Okay, I personally like with my paper, I like the Mossy Meadow, so I'll use that as a contrasting color. Okay, I got all my pieces cut. Let's start off with the chipboard. This is the front flap, and it's 6.5, which is this part here, 6.5 by 2. Okay, that's what I need for that. Now for the front flap on the designer series paper, I have 2 pieces that are 6.25 by 1 3/4, and this will be sit inside of here on the front and on the back of this flap. Okay, now if you wanted to turn it around and use the others, that you feel welcome to do whatever you want, but I think it would look cute either way. So this will be here. I'm going to go ahead and put that, line it up in order. Okay, so that's the front. And then there will be the base part. The base is the biggest part, and the chipboard is 6.5 by 4 1/4. Now my paper, I have 1 piece of designer series paper and 1 piece of the cardstock, and they are 6.25 by 4 1/4, and that will fit inside of here. Okay, so that's the second piece. I'm going to put those together and line these up here on top, one on top of the other. Okay, and the next we have 2 pieces that are what I'm going to call the easel, and those chipboards are 6.5 by 3. So I have 2 of those. And on my designer series paper, I have 2 that are 6.25 by 2 3/4. That will, again, will fit in the center of that. And that would be the back side, or the same size, the 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, and this is my last piece of the easel flap. I'm going to call that the easel flap. And this will go straight down to the base and Velcro in. And this piece is, in chipboard, is 6.5 by 1 3/4. And the Designer Series paper or the cardstock, whatever you want, will need to be, I think I will use one piece of Designer Series paper and then one cardstock, because I think the cardstock is a little bit sturdier to hold up for the Velcro, are 6.25 by 1 3/4. Okay, and that will fit again in there perfectly. Okay, so now what we do is I'm going to lay my first piece, which is my flap of cardstock, and I'm going to put it on my grid paper here, on my grid of my mat. Then I'll take one of these easel pieces and I'm going to put it, I have a scrap of 2 pieces of the cardstock that I used in here, not cardstock, but of the chipboard that I used, and glued them together. And this will tell me what size gap I need in between my placement here. So here I got like 2 pieces thick, and so that's what it needs to be. Now I'm going to take my duct tape and pull it off. Watch to the end of this video. You will see some tips I learned through this process working with the duct tape. It comes in many different colors. And I'm going to go ahead and try to center this as much as I can right down the middle, with the seam in the middle of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold this over. I think I'm going to trim a little bit of this ruffled edge off. It's very hard to cut this. I'm going to use my ruler. And this does stick to the mat good, but it lets go of it well too. So that makes it a little bit easier to trim. So I'm going to just trim this for what I can right here. And now when I flip it over, and I'm going to check for sure that this looks pretty even, and it does. So then I'm going to go ahead and do the back side. Go ahead and hold my ruler to the edge of this, so, and maybe just a tad more, so I can have a little bit. I don't cut the duct tape underneath it. If I do, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but I'd rather not. It's not going to be a big deal at all, actually, because I'm going to run duct tape around the edges here. Okay, so the next piece will be another piece of 6.5 by 3, and again I'm going to hold this against my grid, so I'll know that this is a square. And again with my gap, make sure that I have about the right size gap, and that looks pretty darn close. So I'm going to do every joint the same way until it comes to that last flap joint. Okay, so I'm going to do this next one the same way until I get to this very end one, and then the gap will be increased. Okay, this gap needs to be 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to make sure that this looks like 3/8 of an inch from where I want it to be. Line it up here and line it up there. Now I'm going to tape along the long sides of each side. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to bend one small piece of this duct tape and try to pull out a piece longer than that. And I'm going to tape one at that end that I turned back down to my table here, because I want to hold this upside down while I put this together. This laying flat as possible. And then I'll go ahead and try to eyeball it about halfway down and just lay my project to it. Cut the ends off. And then I'm going to go ahead and just take it, and instead of taking it off the table, I'm just going to roll it. Okay. And that pretty well gives me not as many gaps as I could be if I try to hold it by my hand. Then I'm going to go ahead and trim my edges like I did before. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to this side as I did the other side. And I'll be back. Now for my two ends, I'm going to do exactly the same way. I'm going to but I think this time, since it's such a short distance, I will be able to do it pretty smooth with just holding it straight up in the air. So I do think it's best to go ahead and cut your piece off first, approximately the size you need it, so you don't have your roll to deal with. Okay. Or even a pair of scissors would probably work pretty good right now, because it's not sticky so much. When you're trying to cut it off the row with these scissors, it really grabs a hole, but without it being sticky, it's not so bad. Okay. So, okay, now we got that big gap and all the way in front. Now we're going to go ahead and glue our panels down that go on top. So this side, we got one solid color, two pattern papers, one solid color, and another pattern paper. Okay, so this side has two of the pattern paper, two of the cardstock, and one more of the pattern paper. So that's my order here. And now I'm going to take one of my 3-inch pieces of this Velcro. I have it stuck together as evenly as I can. I'm going to remove one area, and I want to put this like at the end of the inside there. So it will, if I put it on this side, it would prop up. Okay, so I need to put it on this edge, and I'm putting it about where the cardstock ends here on the mat. So I'm going to just put it right into the edge there so it's comfortable, and then flip it over. Okay, then push that down as hard as I can. And do the same thing on this one. And that fits pretty darn good right there. So anyway, that's the easel, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, that if your cell phone's a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, I think it will fit just fine in here. Maybe even an iPad. I just don't know the size of iPads. But of course, you can extend yours or 1/4 inch shorter on the mat. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you get good use out of this little easel. I know I have enjoyed mine. So hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.